Well, a new report from the Department of Education is shedding light on the pandemic's impact on Arizona teachers. The teacher workforce report shows that many things stayed about the same from last year to this year. But one of the major findings was specialty teacher numbers are way down. Those are people who include special ed, bilingual, and elective teachers. State Superintendent Hoffman says it shows that the most vulnerable students are the ones who were most impacted by the pandemic. Tori Davis is a special education teacher in the Madison School District who says the shortage is not a shock, but she worries about the kids who are missing out on things like speech and occupational therapy hours.
If you can't service a child in those areas, then they're not going to make growth and they're not going to be able to potentially no longer need special education services.
The teacher shortage is not new, but Davis says a lack of competitive salaries is one of the reasons we're not growing the workforce. The president of the Arizona Education Association says the gradual 20% raise for teachers over 3 years, the one spurred by Red for Ed, was too slow. He says it kept Arizona from attracting more candidates. So joining us right now to talk about the pandemic's impact on education is State Superintendent Hoffman. We thank you very much. We want to start off, of course, the CDC's new recommendations, what's going on here in Arizona with mask mandates. What is your biggest concern going into this school year?
My biggest concern is right now that our school leaders don't have all the tools in their toolbox to protect their communities. You know, we're seeing the Delta variant spread rapidly across the state with the majority of our counties and the high or substantial spread. And so there is high risk within our school communities where we have lots of people, educators, children coming into our school buildings. And we know especially our kids under the age of 12 are not eligible to get the vaccines yet. So I'm very concerned about kids who are medically fragile or who have a medical condition, who are more vulnerable to COVID-19. And so I am worried that at this time, under recent state laws that were put into place by the legislature and the governor, that our schools don't have the capability, that they don't have the local authority to do what they need to do, like things like mask mandates, to keep their communities safe.
And I know at the beginning of the pandemic, you were side by side with the governor with all these new laws passed. Did the legislators consult you at all? Have you spoken with the governor about how to solve this or how to move forward to keep the kids safe?
I have not been consulted, and these laws were put into place at the 12th hour with no public input, with really seems like they didn't consult any public health experts. We've seen the Arizona Department of Health Services also advocate to follow the CDC guidance for everyone to wear masks regardless of their vaccine status. So these policies were put into place without consulting the education leaders and without consulting the public health experts.
That being said, how do we move forward? How do we protect teachers, children, because we know the virus is spreading across Arizona?
Well, our hands are tied as far as putting any kind of mandates into place, but that does not mean that our schools cannot be educating and informing their communities on how to keep themselves safe. So, you know, schools and teachers are very accustomed to teaching kids about how to stop the spread of germs. So I think that that's more important than ever right now. So our schools can strongly urge wearing masks. They can encourage socially distance. If kids feel sick, parents and families can keep their kids home. So we really want to be layering these mitigation strategies to keep our classrooms as safe as possible. And I want to make sure we're all clear. Everyone is enthusiastic to have in-person learning and in-person instruction. We all want to be back in the classroom together to start the school year strong. So this is really devastating to feel like we're taking a step backwards where we have these concerns and worries, and parents have fears about sending their kids to school back into the classroom, especially if their kids are not eligible for the vaccine.
I have to ask you this one last question. Is there a plan in place if teachers contract the virus? From them, are they isolated? Do they go into quarantine? And will this come out of their own PTO time?
The teachers, as well as students, anyone who tests positive for COVID or who is exposed should enter a quarantine period. Our school districts do have these policies put into place. That does make me worried about, because we have a shortage of substitute teachers to fill those positions if a teacher does need to quarantine, and that can actually result in a school not being able to offer in-person instruction if they don't have adequate staffing, if there's teachers who have tested positive or who are in quarantine. And it probably depends on the district's policies in terms of whether or not they would be paid for that sick leave.
Well, we thank you very much for always being open to discuss the situation with us here on Good Morning Arizona, and we wish you the best in the upcoming school year. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Javi.